Rider questions answered. Let's get started. So, if you are new here, I try to answer questions from Discord first. If I can't source any good questions, if the boys are feeling lazy for whatever reason, we go to Instagram. If you have any questions you want me to answer right now, always drop them on the chat. I try to look out for them as I go on here. Without further ado, let's get started, shall we? Okay, so Shane on Discord asked me, what advice would you give to someone wanting to build a cafe racer? What platform would you recommend? So, if I'm being totally honest, totally earnest, I would say that you shouldn't build a cafe racer. And the reason I say that is because I was just talking to producer Logan about this earlier today. He was mentioning how he knows someone who has an engineering degree and like a whole shop and stuff, and it took him 2 years to put together a cafe racer. And so if you are new to this, basically what's going to happen is you're going to buy a project, and you're never going to get it running. I really hate to break it to you, but it's just, you're going to run into a lot of issues. What I really recommend that you should do, instead of building it, let's say I'm going to give you two options for this, okay? Let's say you just want a cool looking cafe racer bike, get a slightly used Triumph Thruxton. Your done deal, looks awesome, customize it a little bit, put some different tires on it, some decals, some paint, whatever, like maybe put a little grill guard on the headlight. It's going to look great. The second option I would recommend, if you really want to go through the process of building a bike and making a cafe racer, get the most simple, single-cylinder, old-school motorcycle you can that you can fit the cafe racer vibe into it. The reason I say that is because if you get an old-school, single-cylinder, little air-cooled motorcycle, you'll have a way easier time getting it running and getting it all good. Get something a little bit newer as well. Don't go for something from like 1960s or 70s because they have points ignition systems and those are a nightmare to deal with. That try to find something reasonably simple. So that would be my recommendation if you really wanted to build a cafe racer. So I don't have too much knowledge of that world, but I do know many people who have tried their hand at it and really hated life. Doxa on Discord. What are your top 3 bikes from other markets that you Yanks don't get that you want to ride? This is a great question. My first one is the Yamaha Tracer 7. I think that's a phenomenal bike that would do super well here in America. I don't understand why Yamaha has not brought that motorcycle. That's the Tracer line of motorcycles, sport touring from Yamaha. They are the CP2 styled motorcycles. So it shares the MT-07, R7, Tenere 700, that whole line of bikes, but just in a sport touring flavor. I love that one. I think the ZX25 is really cool. We got the ZX4, which is very close to what we need here in America, right? But the ZX25 is still a very special, interesting little motorcycle. And my last one that I have to recommend is the RVF 400, the Baby V4 from Honda from way back in the day. I rode one of those in Australia, and I thought it was super neat. And I'm going to give one more bike because there's lots that I would love to see here in the States. The Yamaha MT-1, the big-ass V-twin. That was an awesome motorcycle. I wish that one came over as well. So those would be some of the bikes that I would want. Okay, Cadamac on Discord has a large question here. They ask, since electric mandates are creeping up slowly, suppose you're given unlimited engineering and financial resources. What kind of electric bike would you create that you'd be truly happy with or as close as possible? What technological advances do you think would be necessary to make electric motorcycles a truly viable or even superior alternative to gas? Okay, this is an interesting question, and I kind of want to ask the chat in a poll here. Basically, what I want to ask is, would you ride, I don't know why I'm doing all caps, would you ride an EV motorcycle if you couldn't ride an ICE? Let's start that poll. Because I want to know if there's a world in which you can't ride an internal combustion motorcycle, would you go for the electric? And I think a lot of people would, but I know that for me, it would really take away the experience. So what I would need from an electric bike to feel, good about it in terms of my internal combustion engine experience, the issue I have with electric bikes right now is that there's not enough of contact points for me to have fun with. There's no clutch, there's no shifter, there's no engine RPM that I can kind of feel through. There's so much lacking there, to the point where I usually have more fun riding a bicycle than I do an electric motorcycle, because I at least have gears and at least I have independent brakes as well. So I would say I would need the electric motorcycle to have gears somehow. I would need it to be able to maybe create different sounds or have some sort of auditory experience. I would need faster top speed. A lot of these electric bikes top out at like 111 miles an hour. If it's a fun sport bike or something like that, I'd want it to kind of feel like it has a little bit of legs. And I'd want the range to be a lot. I'd want at least 200 miles of range, because when you ride these, and 200 miles of real range, because when you ride these electric bikes, they're just kind of, you get so much range anxiety and it really stinks. And I'd want the charge time to be 20 minutes or something like that, 10 minutes if possible. That would make the experience, to me, totally cool. If I can shift gears, if I can ride at least 200 miles stress-free, no problem, and if I can charge in 10 minutes, and if it can cost me, 10 grand or whatever, maybe $10,000 to $15,000, then that's pretty good, and then I'd be happy enough with it that it's still two wheels, it's still fun. But for now, that's a whole lot of asks that probably wouldn't happen. So, yeah. I did see we had a question come up on chat. Jamakill Burns, thank you for the $20. I spent 3 years watching your channel, and I finally started riding last year. O2R6. Nice. I appreciate all the videos, funny clips, in-depth discussions you've had about riding, because it got me ready for my adventure. Well, thank you, Jamakill. Jamikal, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I'm going to say Jamikal. I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much for the $20, and I hope you're riding safe, having fun. 2002 R6 is a sweet ride, so I do appreciate it. Eortega06 on Instagram asked me, got any track day tips? I've never been. Expected costs, do's and don'ts, etc. So I've made many entire videos on track day tips. I will give you one really solid tip. The most solid tip I can give you for a track day is that you are there to learn. The first and foremost thing you're doing at a track day is learning. As long as you show up with an open mind, no ego, you're already ahead of at least 50% of the dudes there. I can't begin to tell you how many guys are in novice that ride so slow and think that they're so fast and think that they're so cool because they came from the street. If you go to a track day, just go there to learn. Be open-minded, listen to the instructors because they probably know more than you, and just enjoy the day and make sure your bike stays upright. That would be the best thing you can do. Keep it light, keep it breezy, have fun, try to learn something, and then you'll probably get addicted to it because it is a ton of fun. So that would be my track day tips for you there. All right, Christian Hayes on Instagram asked me, been riding a CBR 250 for about 2 months, 400 or 600 to start next season off. Love that you've been riding for 2 months and you're already like, all right, let me get a 600. Come on. Here's what I would recommend. If you're riding a CBR 250, that is a very entry-level, bare bones, great little motorcycle, but it's not particularly powerful. I think the jump to a 600 is a bit large. I would say go for something like an SV650, MT-07. If you want to stick in the fully fared category, there's tons of the new kind of not so super sport motorcycles. RS660 would be a fantastic choice. R7. I think the R7 would make you very, very happy if you're coming from a CBR 250. It'll feel very fast, very sporty, and you'll have a ton of fun. And then you can think about a 600 or a 1000 or anything after that. But I would say it's a bit too big of a jump to go 250 to 600. The 400 is too small of a jump. You're not going to feel that much of a difference. So I think R7, good choice. Will Jordan on Instagram asks, how long into riding should you wait before going to the track? This is a great question. I get this one a lot, and I think that it kind of comes down to your personal abilities and preferences, right? If you feel confident that you can ride your motorcycle competently without dropping it, and you're able to point it in the direction you want to go, and you can take turns, then you should be ready to do your first track day. Again, like I mentioned to the previous question about first-time track days, you're not there to go as fast as possible. So the vast majority of the time at your very first track day, you're going to be in a little single-file line, just following the person in front of you, going not that fast. later on in the day, they may allow you to start passing on the outside very safely, nice and easy, that sort of thing. So I think that as long as you've been riding like maybe even 6 months, you feel confident enough to be able to do it. I think you should go for it. I think it'd be great. Hey folks, I hope you're enjoying this Yammie Noob live stream clip. Remember, every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central, right here on YouTube, I do the streams. If you want a chance to participate in the live streams, head over to yammie.co and become a member. You'll get access to our Discord server, automatic entries to win our giveaway motorcycles, and access to our newsletter as well. It's a great way to support the show. It's like a bike night that never ends over there. It's a lot of fun, and I'm on there all the time. Join as a member on yammie.co and support the show. We just got a question on chat. Lucas, thank you for the $20, asked me, Yams, thoughts on CF Moto 675 SS? It's on the radar for review. Is it on the radar for a review soon? Not only is it on the radar for review, I would love to get one as a giveaway motorcycle and feature it for a longer term bike on the channel. That bike has a ton of hype right now. I've seen videos that people put out that get tons of views, people very excited about that motorcycle because the cost is not very high. And it's a 3-cylinder bike. It's pretty sweet. And I think a lot of people want to know how well it works, if it's mechanically sound and reliable. So I would certainly like to get one if I can, possibly. So that's my answer to that. And thank you for the $20 again. Okay, Moto Duke on Instagram. Is Royal Enfield on the up and up? 100%. 100%. If you look at the sales increases Royal Enfield has had over the last 5 years, it's absolutely bananas. I've talked to many of the executives at Royal Enfield, even the CEO and many other high-ranking people at the company. They're doing phenomenal things, doing very well. The company is certainly on the up and up. It's very, very exciting to see. I think we just had another question come in on chat. Yes, we did. Thank you very much. Alex Cabrera for the $5. Ninja 500 to RS 660 or Street Triple RS. Maybe something else. R9 maybe. I believe the R9 might be a little too big of a jump from a Ninja 500. I think you'd be better served going to an RS 660. And it kind of fits the vibe of the fully fared bike a little bit better. The only thing that might make you a little sad is that it's still a parallel twin, but it's a 270-degree crank, and that RS 660 motor is just fantastic. So going from about 50 horsepower to 100 horsepower, that's a nice jump. You're doubling your horsepower. You're going to have a lot of fun. The bike is great. And it's going to be good. Mayur B2812 on Instagram. Why do you hate Kawasaki? And I feel like I get this question once a week at this point now. And I do not hate Kawasaki. Some of my favorite motorcycles are Kawasaki bikes. I love the ZH2. I love the ZX4RR. I really like the ZX6. I love Kawasaki's. So I have certain Kawasaki's that I think are really boring and bad. The Versys 650, super boring, but very competent motorcycle. The Vulcan 650, also not great, but yeah, just that's how I feel about it. Okay, Cody Freeman 56 on Instagram. What is your favorite time of day to ride? Great question. I am super privileged that I do this whole YouTube thing full time, and so I can kind of pick and choose whenever I ride. My favorite time to ride is when there are as few people on the road as possible. So I am often riding around at like Tuesday at like 10:45 a.m. That's like my favorite time because nobody's out, the roads are clear, everything's cool, and I'm able to do my thing in a very nice way. There's also fewer law enforcement at that time because nobody's really out and about. So yeah, I would say that that would definitely be my favorite time to ride. I'm trying to think anything else. Well, temperature-wise, I also like to do, it depends on the time of year, but earlier in the day is better for me because here in Texas, it's just crazy hot anyways. But as long as it's between 55 to about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, that's plenty okay for me to ride in as well. So hope that answers the question. CC Saga on Discord. As a new rider on a CB500F, I already have had a low side spill on a turn. Oh, sorry to hear it. Should I be more worried about throttle control in a turn or my position in the lane before the turn? For context, I hit the shoulder of the road at 6 miles per hour when the bike slipped off the road and into the ditch. So this is interesting. First of all, I'm sorry to hear you had a crash. That does kind of suck. If it's a low speed spill, sounds like it was pretty okay. Throttle control is the most important thing on a motorcycle, right? Like, it is the fundamental connection between you and your bike, and it dictates so much of how the bike behaves. Obviously, second to that is actually pulling on the front brake and tipping the bike in and trail it in, get the front loaded up, all that good stuff. But banking on the throttle back on it after a turn, picking it up is really important. And what I want you to think about now that you've had the spill, what has to happen is if you are leaning the bike, you have to have the muscle memory that the throttle is rolling off, right? If the bike is leaning in, you're not adding gas. You should never do this, right? It should always be this, right? Like dipping this way or dipping this way, your hand has to go down, right? You can't lean and add gas because then you're going to do that and the wheel's going to spin and, all that stuff. So I think practice that muscle memory of the throttle being basically on a string, right? Like you're full gas, you brake, you turn in like this, right? And then you pick it back up. You brake, pick it back up. Just kind of get that in your head. As far as the position of the lane goes, it's not as important, but you certainly should look where you want to go, right? If you're looking and you're trying to avoid those obstacles in the road, shoulder full of gravel or sand, the middle of the road has oil in it, you can carve a nice clean line through the turn. Just look where you want to go and you'll be A-okay. Obviously, if you're leaving a stoplight, you're going to be on the gas. So what I said about like turning and gassing is a little different in that context. But if you're already moving is what I was talking about. Got a couple questions on chat here. Just going to roll through these. Victor asks, have you ever rode the Honda Motocompacto? I don't know if that's the new one with the suitcase. I haven't ridden that, but I have ridden the original Motocompo. That was an awesome bike. I did a whole review on it, so you should go check it out. And thank you for the $199. Mr. Black asked, precautions on getting an MT-07 as a first motorcycle. I really want to keep my first bike for a while. That's why I'm thinking of getting one. Great bike, great beginner plus motorcycle to get. The only precaution I would say is that it is a very torquey motorcycle. That motorcycle can pick up the front wheel in second gear on power alone. So if you are going to get that as your first bike, be very careful with the throttle. Do not whiskey throttle that bike because it will wheelie and it will get away from you. It is a pretty torquey and powerful motorcycle. It has a short wheelbase, which makes it really great. You can clutch up third gear wheelies on that thing. It's a ton of fun. But if you are not prepared for that, it could be a little dangerous. That'd be the only thing I'd recommend to you. And thanks again for the $4.99. And then Lou Strella here, or Stella, excuse me. Thank you for the $5. With details about the Long Way Home series coming out, what classic bike would you choose for a 10K mile trip from Scotland to London, the long way? I have not heard about that, but I guess that's Charlie Borman and Ewan McGregor doing a new series. That's pretty sweet. What classic bike would I choose for a 10K mile trip? I think I would go kind of different with it. I think I would get a Ducati 916 and do a long trip on it just to show that it can be done. It would be kind of tough on the back a little bit, but it would look so good doing it, and it's like a 30-year-old bike at this point. Could look pretty sweet. So yeah, that's the one I would pick. And boys, that wraps up the questions. But as a quick reminder, if you wanted to ask me more questions or just hang out with me and the whole community on Discord, go ahead and join as a member on YammieNoob.co. It's the best way you can support the show. I would love to see all of you getting involved. For those of you asking questions on here, if you're not a member on the Discord, I'm on there all the time, and then you can ask me questions on there.
Wake up! You're dreaming! You're dreaming! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! None of this is real! None of it's real! None of it's real! Wake up! Keep watching Yammie Noob.